Hey, Georgia lost, but their playoff chances were saved by another SEC team. Man, I love college football.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking out. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I know I've said it before, and I'm going to continue to say it. How do you not love, appreciate, adore the beautiful game of college football? It is a beautiful game, man. Welcome to Athletes Phone Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, like this video, share with a friend. Shout out to the locker room, that you guys that continue to come back and chop it up with me, and we just talk some ball. So I'm excited to get this thing rolling and talk to you guys about a great week of college football we just had. And yes, I want to talk to you about a couple things that I said in that opening statement. Even though Georgia lost, they were saved by another SEC team, and we'll dive into that. But, man, you want to talk about great games in college football. I think one of them started Friday night. Which, again, had the potential off the rip to be a good game. I'm talking about the Miami versus Virginia Tech game. This one's a personal for a couple reasons, not just for me, but for the players that were in it. Cam Ward, quarterback for the Hurricanes, is cousins with Kyron Jones, quarterback for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech has some bad losses. The Rutgers loss was a bad loss. The Vanderbilt loss was a bad loss. So they're insinuating they're a better team than what they've proven, but they haven't played quality talent. This game, Virginia Tech really kind of dominated most of the game, if not more than majority of the game. Cam Ward, yeah, he made some nice plays. He had a couple nice improvising plays, but ultimately it came down to a Hail Mary. And how we feel about Hail Marys on this network. So let me replay that for you, and shout out to ESPN. They gotta get the credit for this. But let me just share that Hail Mary for you. So just to paint the picture, it is at the moment when I'm about to show this, Miami just scored, because they've been back and forth for most of the game. Miami had just scored. Virginia Tech has the ball, and they're driving. 2-minute drill kind of formatted here. Right before this play, they gave up a long run to Kyron Jones, who got out of bounds with 3 seconds left. All right, with 3 seconds left in the game, and then this is what happened. So as you can see, ruled a touchdown. All right. Once so Miami they get the ball. Obviously they're celebrating to show that obviously that they won the game, right? But it was ruled a touchdown. But when they take a look at the review, receiver didn't survive the ground, incomplete pass. They overturn it. Miami wins. We almost had an upset. We almost had the number 17 get upset by Virginia Tech, and it would have been a great game. Excuse me, it was already a great game, but it would have been a great, even better outcome to get that type of upset, to start the weekend, the week that we already obviously recapping. We know what we just had, but man, to start the Friday night, that game, and Friday night games have become a little bit of exciting ones. Obviously, Nebraska, Illinois last week, Miami VTech this week. I got to see who's this Friday, but that was a great game. That was a great game to watch. And we'll see where Miami goes from here. They play Cal. Cal, again, weird ACC team. Let's see how, they've actually been surprising a lot of teams, a lot of good wins. Let's see, maybe this is an upset brewing. We're gonna have to take a look and see. I mean, how do you not talk college football and not talk about Colorado? Colorado, 14-point underdogs heading into this game, playing at UCF, who had the number 2 rushing attack. I think going into halftime, they had under 40 yards of rushing alone. Colorado actually looked like the better rushing team, 29 attempts, 128 yards. But Colorado, Are they better than what people are giving them credit for? Are they better than who we think they have? They've been a different team since that Nebraska loss. We'll see coming forward who else they got. Again, I mentioned this in another episode. They still got games against Kansas State, Arizona, who just had another big win this past weekend. Or no, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. They still have a lot of Utah. They still got a lot of teams that they got to face, but this Colorado team's looking better than what we thought they could be. Thought they were going to be, especially after that Nebraska loss, right? Better than how they did last year. So we are seeing improvement. We'll just continue to see, but you can't talk. I don't care what anyone says. You can't talk college football without at least mentioning Colorado and without at least mentioning Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter does it again. Almost has 100 receiving yards for the 6th straight game. I believe he was 11 yards short. Not 89 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Great pick. Colorado primarily a man cover defense. Played cover 2. He baited the quarterback, KJ Jefferson, former Arkansas quarterback that transferred to UCF. Baited KJ Jefferson. Travis Hunter picks it, has a great game. Keep in mind, like, he's only targeted 10% leading into this game. So he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. But again, when he gets those opportunities, he takes advantage of them. And that's why people are talking about him for the Heisman. And again, is he going to pull off the athlete triple crown? Biletnikoff, best receiver. Jim Thorpe, best defensive back in the Heisman. We'll see. But he is the best person. He is the best player in college football. Let's look at this. Let's look at this Alabama Georgia game. This game was a doozy. This game lived up to the hype. This game was everything that we hoped to be and thought it would be and thought we were going to get. But, the score doesn't really indicate how the outcome really was, because in the first half, Alabama dominated. I think it was 33-15 going into halftime. 3 turnovers in the first half. Jalen Milroe was, again, Heisman-type performance. Playing in Alabama, this game was great. We usually always get a good Alabama game, whether it's Alabama LSU, Alabama Texas A&M. If you want to go back to Johnny Manziel days, this year just happened to be Alabama Georgia, even sometimes Alabama Auburn. We usually always get a great classic Alabama game, and it's crazy that in week 5 we haven't even finished September yet, and we already got this type of game. And we already talked about October 12th is the greatest weekend in college football. We'll dive into that in the next week or two. But needless to say, great game. Alabama played well. Georgia made some adjustments. I believe Alabama was really attacking the perimeter. That was the game plan coming in. Georgia didn't really do a good job defensively, setting edges and forcing things back inside. Jalen Milroe got loose. Running back got loose. Ryan Williams had a game. Ryan Williams, freshman wide receiver for Alabama. Keep in mind, this kid is 17 years old and dominating. 17 years old and dominating. This game was everything, that the hype built it up to be, was everything that we needed to see. I thought the game was going to be potentially more of a crazy year blowout for the simple fact that Georgia just couldn't stop Alabama, and it proved it. But second half, whole different half. Georgia makes the comeback. They eventually even take the lead, 34-33, right? And right after this, right after they take the lead here, you see why Ryan Williams is such an incredible athlete, all right? Jalen Milroe, you would think that they want to, methodically move the ball downfield, have clock control, maybe burn some clock, maybe not give Georgia another possession. But Kalen DeBoer ain't built that way. So they go deep to Williams on that first play, right? And he makes a great move and eventually scores. Let's see if I can get that pulled up for you real quick. Again, shout out to ESPN for the for the graphics here, or video, needless to say. All right, here it is. Jalen Milroe to Ryan Williams, right? Let's let this thing play out. Sorry, it's just taking a This thing sounds better with volume, so let's get some volume in here. Even you see here, Ryan Williams makes the catch. Back shoulder, right behind the defensive back. He runs, makes a move, shows the elusiveness, and scores. And that's all she wrote. And that's all she wrote. There's one thing that I'm learning about college football, especially this year. It's that sorry. There's one thing I'm learning about college football, especially this year, is that like veteran teams are more likely gonna go the furthest. But this is a young person's game, and freshmen are some of the most talented ones we're seeing. You know, this freshman class, Jeremiah Smith, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State receiver, Ryan Williams, wide receiver, Alabama, Dylan Raiola, quarterback, Nebraska. Who else we got? Nico quarterback for Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava, whatever his name is, right? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Travis Hunter, right? He's still pretty young. He was only a junior. But like there's young athletes that are dominating this game. And I'm not gonna lie, when at one point when I was young and I was a big NFL fan, you know, I was disappointed that some of my stars would no longer be playing, and I didn't know who those new guys are going to be. As I got older and they're playing college football and learning that like more athletes are building names for themselves and could potentially be the next stars in the NFL, it's more fun to watch them in high school, college, watch their journey and see them prove what they've been capable of. So that's what we're seeing here. Again, Alabama with another dominating win, 41-34 over Georgia. Now, where does Georgia go from here? Because the winner of this game, according to a lot of certain graphics, had a 90% chance of making the playoffs. Loser drops about 60 or 50. So Georgia loses. However, even though Georgia lost, they were saved by Ole Miss. You see, Ole Miss, light schedule, had the opportunity to run the table, go undefeated, maybe even make it to the SEC championship. However, that loss to Georgia, and seeing that Georgia beat, however, Ole Miss has lost to Kentucky. Georgia beat Kentucky. Kentucky beats Ole Miss. Throws a little stain on Ole Miss, but helps Georgia up a little bit now. You see? Because, again, when we get to this point where they're comparing schedules and similar opponents, Georgia automatically now takes a leg up over Ole Miss. If these two teams win out, go undefeated, Georgia automatically has the edge over Ole Miss. So even though Georgia lost, their chances of making the playoffs didn't drop as much as they should have because Ole Miss lost. And that was a bad loss. But Kentucky may be better than we think. All right? Again, you got to love college football. Another team that took a bad loss this week, all right? And this is a team that usually is good, usually gives teams some troubles, but Utah lost to Arizona. That's a bad loss. Utah ranked number 10, loses to Arizona. Now, where do you go from here for Utah? Obviously, you're having quarterback issues. Cam Rising's not feeling well. Do you have the Big 12 is crazy. Kansas State looks probably like the best right now, but again, we talked about you can't cut out Colorado. You know, Kansas State just beat Oklahoma State. Utah was the biggest threat to Kansas State. BYU just beat Kansas State. BYU is tricky too. You can't sleep on them. Big 12 was wide open. And this is why, again, it's only September. We still got 3 more months of this thing, and excited to see how everything pans out. All right. So what a week in college football. What I want to talk to you guys about is a team you need to keep an eye on heading down the rest of the way. They had a big one Friday night. Yes, I am talking about Rutgers. Rutgers. Shout out to Coach Joe Harasimiak, my defensive backs coach at the University of Maine, D1AA. He is now the D coordinator at Rutgers, and they had a big win over Washington Friday night. Why is this a big win? Rutgers is 4-0 for the first time since 2012. Back when Cristiano was I want to say he was the head coach there before going to the NFL, but needless to say, Rutgers is a team that a lot of a lot of people were sleeping on, and they're playing in the Big Ten. All right. So let's look at the rest of their schedule and how far they can take it. They got a big matchup next week versus Nebraska. That's going to be huge. Wisconsin, UCLA, I think they're better than. USC, you go to California, it's going to be 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be a hard game. Then you got Minnesota, Maryland, Illinois, Michigan State. That's a very favorable schedule. You don't get Michigan. You don't get Ohio State. You don't get Oregon, right? You don't get Penn State. You dodge a lot of teams. Rutgers has a chance to make some noise. So don't sleep on them. And that's one team that I definitely wanted to give a shout out. I think Rutgers has the opportunity to make things a little interesting. We'll see how this pans out. But what a great week of college football. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Locker Room. Let me know what you guys think. All right, who won the weekend? Who lost the weekend? Who's a team I should be keeping an eye on? Maybe Rutgers? Maybe a different team? You let me know. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think.